Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Creative Critique. This week's edition is a Western special. Why a Western special? Well, because Westerns are not watched enough, I think it's fair to say these days. Some say it's a dying genre. In many ways, that could be correct, but I still think there's an enormous amount to appreciate about the Western genre. So, the theatrically released film that I saw this week was the Salvation, which is a film that stars Mads Mikkelsen, the Danish actor, and it revolves around him and his brother, who have lived in the US for a little while. Mads Mikkelsen decides he wants to bring his family over. The time is right to settle down. He brings them over. They get in their coach to go to their house. And unfortunately, on the way to this, I'm not spoiling anything here by saying what happens, but his wife and his son are murdered, with his wife also being raped. So yes, terrible, terrible acts here, and I think we all know what happens from here. He's pushed out of the carriage to prevent this from happening. He catches up with the carriage later on, kills both the assailants, and then what proceeds to occur later on in the film is that one of these assailants' brother is a highly well-known criminal of the area and like gang boss who wants to exact revenge. So yes, it's fair to say with the Western genre, there's not usually much wriggle room in terms of development. It's quite a standard plot device, that killing a man's family to go out and then effectively a revenge pick from the rest of that. So there's nothing new there. So why should you really watch this film? Other than the fact that it's a different angle, because it's a European take on the Western. It's made, again, I do believe it's made by a Scandinavian director, and obviously written by a Scandinavian, and also starring Mads Mikkelsen, who is Danish. So it's interesting from that angle, because it's them trying to do an American picture, so which is always an interesting thing to watch. Mads Mikkelsen is good. He does what he can with the role. Like I say, it's not a highly developed role. It's kind of, some of the side characters are quite interesting in the film. Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays this infamous villain. Choose the scenery pretty much throughout the whole film. Jonathan Pryce makes an appearance as the mayor of the town. Well, I said the cowardly mayor, who's also in cahoots with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's okay. He's alright in this film. Eva Green is an interesting one, because Eva Green plays the mute, now widowed wife of one of the assailants who murdered Mads Mikkelsen's wife and child. And her role is quite peculiar, because you've got a decent actress in this role, and yet is making her mute to the story's advantage or against the story's advantage. It certainly lends a different angle to it, without a doubt. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I quite like Eva Green. She does quite not quirky roles, but a bit different roles to other actresses. She does give it a lot. You do get a lot from her performance, like you probably wouldn't if she was speaking, because she's made to act a bit more, expressions wise. But it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. So yeah, like I said about this film, it's not a film that's going too far beyond its genre roots, if you will. But it's an interesting take. I enjoyed the film. Is it a film I would buy on DVD and watch again? I'm not sure. Really not sure. But it's a decent film. It's a decent film without being exceptional. So yeah, that was The Salvation, starring Mads Mikkelsen. What shall we go on to now? Well, the classic film of the week is we're staying in the Western genre, of course, Western special here. And once again, it's another European take on the Western genre. Only this European take was 50 years ago. From 50 years ago. And it is, of course, A Fistful of Dollars. The Sergio Leone film. Spaghetti Western. And it, of course, stars the now infamous man with no name, Clint Eastwood. Now, it can be said that this wasn't the first spaghetti western. There was numerous ones before this film. But this is the film that reached an American audience and was given more of a wider distribution. And why is that, other than the obvious American starring film by Clint Eastwood? Numerous things, probably. One thing, there's something about Clint Eastwood's character that is just... You are truly intrigued by his character because you know nothing about him, yet you're trying to read a man that can't be read. So he's always got you engaged in his performance, whether he's spying on somebody, talking back a nice quip line, or just watching action as it goes on in front of him between other rival gangs. He's good in it. It's without a doubt. It's no surprise that this was a star-turning and star-making role for Clint Eastwood, and the fact that he did 2 more after this is not surprising either. Also, to the film's advances is the Ennio Morricone score. I mean, the intro to the film and the animation to the film at the beginning is some of the best. It's one of the best intros to a film I have ever seen. No doubt about that. It has you. The silhouetted man on a horse and the guitar intro by Ennio Morricone is just a soundtrack that has lived on and is a now infamous soundtrack. And as soon as you hear that, you know that is him. That is his signature. And his scores only get better as the film series goes on. So yeah, it's an absolutely outstanding film score. Clint Eastwood is wonderful. The story is interesting, and the reason why I say it's interesting is because of its origins. Effectively, Clint Eastwood rocked up in a small American town. It's a small Mexican town, and he sees that there's 2 gangs in this town, one slightly bigger than the other, but because there's not much difference in the size of the gangs, they find a way to live with each other in the town, so don't cause each other too much trouble. Clint Eastwood thinks, there's money to be made out of this, or there's gains to be made. So he asks a local who is the bigger gang and tries to make himself close to this gang and affiliate himself with this gang by effectively killing a couple of guys from the other gang. Quite scrupulous, it's without a doubt. So he's an unscrupulous character. He's not a nice character, Clint Eastwood's character. In a way, he's an anti-hero. He's the true anti-hero. But yeah, so he's effectively playing the 2 gangs off each other. Because at first he's with one gang, and then he sort of sidles up to the smaller American gang. Yeah, and if anybody knows their films, if that sounds familiar, if that plot device sounds familiar, it is because, of course, it is the exact plot of Yojimbo, the Akira Kurosawa samurai film, in which Toshio Mifune's samurai walks into a town and does exactly the same thing with 2 gangs, only samurai gangs this time around. So I was saying before earlier about the Salvation being a plot that isn't too far away from predictability. This is a plot ripped straight out of another film. So although obviously you've got to appreciate what Sergio Leone has done with his storyline and transferred it to a Western genre, there's a little bit of okay. I've seen it because what did I see first? I actually saw A Fistful of Dollars first before I saw Yojimbo, and I don't know whether I truly enjoy both of them, but upon seeing the Jumbo, I realised obviously it was before it. It didn't take a little bit of the sting out, but there was something that was a small piece of it was taken away by me knowing that that plot device had been done. But then again, when has a plot device never been reused? So who am I to criticise in that sense of the word? So yeah. So yeah, it's all about him playing the two gangs of each other. I said about the score, the direction, and the panning of the dirty tumbleweed going along the screens. That was a terrible description. Yeah, the widescreen is completely utilised in this film because of the landscape and cinematography on show. Fabulously done there. And whatever you think about the Western genre, I think The Fistful of Dollars is a classic. The trilogy, the Man with No Name trilogy, is a classic trilogy. And whatever you think about the Western genre, they never overstay their welcome. They're not. Well, I say they never overstay their welcome. The good and the bad. It was 2.5 hours nearly, wasn't it? But that's still a fabulous film. But the typical trait of a Western film is not to be overlong because they know their limits. And Fistful of Dollars at around 90 to 100 minutes knows its limits. It works its characters well. It works its screen time well. The limited script that is there is interesting and entertaining. And you are transfixed by Clint Eastwood. Simple as that. So it is an absolute classic of the genre. Absolute classic. So we had there, of course, our classic film, A Fistful of Dollars. And we had previously the newly cinematically released film, The Salvation. Two European takes on the American Western genre. Both, one ultimately a classic of the genre, one an interesting and entertaining watch. So yeah, there we go. That was my Western special for this week. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed anything I have had to say during this video, and I do hope to see and speak to you soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.